Welcome to SamvaadX News Podcast. Today is Thursday, 24th April 2025, and the time as we record this is 9 a.m. I'm Raj Patel.
And I'm Priya Shah.
Today we're really diving into a series of, quite significant developments. We have to start with the nation's response to that horrific terrorist attack in Pahalgam.
Absolutely horrific.
But that's just, the starting point.
Yeah.
We'll also look at the Supreme Court's reaction, not just to the attack, but other cases too. Then there's the expected formation of the Eighth Pay Commission, global reactions to the attack, Pakistan's response, PM Modi's recent Saudi visit.
Right, that happened just before the attack.
Exactly. Plus, the World Bank's updated growth forecast for India, some key state-level news, the aftermath in places like Thane and Mumbai, but also Manipur and the Heatwave in Bihar.
A lot happening domestically.
And we'll touch on the IPL, the tech sector outlook and result, India's business activity, some positive signs there, and the start of India-U.S. trade talks.
Big talks.
And finally, some things going viral, obviously the Pahalgam attack discussions, but also an interesting IPL handshake. So quite a bit to get through.
Indeed. Where should we begin? Logically, the Pahalgam attack seems the place.
Yes, let's start there. The attack itself was devastating. Pahalgam, J&K, at least 26 dead, mostly tourists. But India's response has been incredibly swift and strong.
It really has. The actions against Pakistan were immediate. Suspending the Indus Waters Treaty, that's a major step. Halting water flow has huge potential long-term consequences.
Absolutely. Geopolitically, agriculturally, it's significant.
And then you have the downgrading of diplomatic relations, closing the Atari border for trade and transit, expelling Pakistani military attachments.
It sends a very clear message.
A very strong one. Plus, asking Pakistani nationals under that SARC visa exemption scheme to leave within 48 hours, it shows the urgency.
And the government's reasoning seems quite direct. They're citing clear evidence linking the Resistance Front, the TRF.
Which operates in the region, yes.
Linking them with cross-border support from Pakistan. So they're not seeing this as isolated.
No, definitely framing it as part of a pattern of cross-border terrorism. And you saw the prime minister cutting short his Saudi visit.
Right. Underlines the gravity.
And an FIR file mentioning that cross-border involvement in illegal automatic weapons. So the official stance is very clear.
It's resonated across institutions, too, hasn't it? The Supreme Court, for instance.
Yes, the Supreme Court issued a very powerful full court resolution. They called the attack a diabolical act, cowardly. They expressed anguish, solidarity.
And held a 2-minute silence.
They did. That collective statement from the highest court is significant. The Bar Association, too, calling it unpardonable savagery.
So, widespread condemnation. But the court's regular work continued amidst this. There were some key cases.
That's right. For instance, the warning to the Tamil Nadu minister V. Senthil Balaji in that money laundering case, basically telling him to choose between his post and, freedom.
That sends a strong signal, doesn't it, about public office and legal proceedings?
It really does. It suggests the court sees a potential conflict when someone facing serious charges stays in power. A potential precedent, maybe?
And then there was that defamation case urging settlement.
Yes, between Shivraj Singh Chauhan and Vivek Tanka, the court pushing for an amicable settlement there, maybe trying to resolve high-profile disputes outside the courtroom if possible.
Interesting contrast. And what about the dowry harassment case that was quashed?
Yes. The court noted a trend of, relatives being implicated without specific allegations of physical torture. It seems they're emphasizing the need for concrete evidence against individuals, not just looping in the whole family.
So focusing on specific accountability for physical abuse rather than broad accusations.
Exactly. Due process.
Yeah.
And related to that, perhaps, the court also refused to stay the BPSC mains exam despite the paper leak allegations.
Right.
And dismissed pleas for guidelines to protect doctors from assault. Basically saying, look, we can't monitor everything. There are limits to judicial oversight.
Understood. Okay. Shifting gears a bit to economic matters. The Eighth Pay Commission, expected soon.
Within the next 2 to 3 weeks, that's the expectation.
And just remind us, what's the main purpose here? It affects a lot of people.
It certainly does. Central government employees, pensioners. The commission's job is essentially to review salaries, allowances, pensions, and recommend changes. It happens roughly every 10 years.
Right.
They do extensive consultations, talk to various stakeholders, and then the government considers their report. It has a pretty big impact on millions of households and, government finances overall.
Okay, so something to watch out for the coming weeks. Now, back to the Pahalgam attack, the international reaction.
widespread condemnation. We saw statements from the U.S., Russia, Italy, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh expressing solidarity, condemning the violence. A fairly unified global response against terrorism.
But Pakistan's stance.
Denial.
Yeah.
As expected, they've denied any involvement.
And we're hearing their leadership is meeting.
Yes, reportedly, to decide how to respond to India's actions, particularly the Indus Waters Treaty suspension and the diplomatic downgrading. So tensions have definitely escalated.
It feels like a precarious moment between the two countries.
It does. The suspension of the treaty is a particularly significant move, as we discussed. Its long-term effects could be substantial, careful handling needed on both sides.
Before all this erupted, PM Modi was in Saudi Arabia. That visit seemed quite productive.
It did, yeah. It was April 22nd and 23rd. He co-chaired the Strategic Partnership Council meeting with Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. That itself shows the priority.
Right.
They reviewed progress since last September and actually expanded the council with new ministerial committees, defense, tourism, culture. So broadening cooperation.
Strengthening that strategic partnership.
Exactly. And the PM congratulated them on the Expo 2030 and FIFA 2034 bids, appreciated the Indian diaspora there. Seems like a positive visit overall, strengthening ties.
Okay. Now, another economic item, the World Bank's forecast for India's growth. They revised it downwards.
Slightly, yes. For FY26, they've lowered the GDP growth forecast to 6.3%.
And the reason?
Primarily, rising global uncertainty. They seem concerned that external factors might dampen growth, even though India's domestic economy has been resilient.
What sort of external factors?
Well, ongoing geopolitical tensions, inflation sticking around in major economies, maybe a slowdown in global trade. These could hit India's exports, maybe investment climate.
So, a reminder that even with strong domestic fundamentals, global headwinds matter.
Precisely. Need to keep an eye on mitigating those external risks.
Domestically, beyond Pahalgam, there's been difficult news from other states, too.
Tragically, yes. We saw the return of the victims' bodies from Pahalgam to places like Thane, Mumbai, Kolkata, Surat. Huge gatherings to pay respects, like 3,000 people in Thane.
Heartbreaking. And the Maharashtra government announced aid.
Yes. Rs 5 lakh for the families. You hear survivor accounts, worries about Kashmir tourism. It's deeply affecting. Local Kashmiri leaders also expressed condolences.
And then the situation in Manipur.
Still very tense. There was an arson attack in Kamjang district, 2 villages destroyed, a curfew was imposed. It just highlights the ongoing ethnic violence there, a complex, fragile situation.
And Bihar dealing with extreme heat.
Yes, Gaya recorded 43 degrees Celsius. The IMD issued warnings. It's a major concern for health, especially for vulnerable people and also for agriculture. This intense heat has real consequences.
Okay, let's shift to sports. The IPL continues, though obviously overshadowed.
It does. Mumbai Indians beat Sunrisers, Hyderabad, their 4th win in a row, actually. But importantly, it was a somber match.
Black armbands.
Yes. Players wore black armbands for the Pahalgam victims. No fireworks, no cheerleaders. A respectful tone.
Good to hear. Any milestones in the game?
Rohit Sharma reached a huge one, 12,000 runs in T20 cricket. Incredible achievement.
Oh.
And separately, in another context, KL Rahul became the fastest player to reach 5,000 IPL runs. He's apparently improved his strike rate this season, too.
Impressive consistency from him. Okay, onto the tech sector. NASSCOM's outlook seems reasonably positive.
Yes, their strategic review for 2025 projects resilient growth for Indian tech in FY25, despite, the global uncertainties we talked about.
What kind of growth are they forecasting?
About 5.1% revenue growth overall, reaching $283 billion. Exports expected to cross $200 billion. And the domestic market looks healthy, too, maybe 7% growth.
What's driving that?
A key driver they mentioned is enterprise AI and Gen AI adoption. That seems to be powering a lot of the demand.
On hiring?
Net hiring still positive, around 126,000 expected in FY25, but maybe a bit more modest growth expected for FY26, so perhaps a slight slowdown in the pace of hiring expansion.
We also saw Q4 results from some big IT players, LTI Mindtree, HCL Tech.
Right, a bit of a mixed bag maybe. Some showed profit growth year on year, announced dividends, but brokerages seem a bit cautious.
Why cautious?
They're watching new deal wins closely, and there's some concern about potential U.S. tariff threats that could impact the sector. Also, Accenture acquired Talent Sprint, which is interesting, shows continued action in the tech skilling space.
So, resilient but navigating challenges. What about broader business activity in India? Any positive signs?
Actually, yes. Recent PMI data showed business activity hitting an 8-month high in April.
Oh, that's good news.
It is. Driven mainly by strong new export orders for manufactured goods. Suggests good momentum in both manufacturing and services to start the fiscal year. A welcome sign amidst the global concerns.
And on the international trade front, those India-U.S. trade talks have started.
Yes, they kicked off in Washington, D.C. High-level discussions for a potential bilateral trade agreement, or BTA.
What's the focus?
Well, Finance Minister Sitharaman met U.S. business leaders, tech, AI, investment featured. Reports suggest the U.S. is pushing for more market access, especially in e-commerce, thinking of companies like Amazon, Walmart.
That could be a sticking point.
Potentially, yes.
Yeah.
And these talks are happening with the backdrop of possible U.S. tariff changes on Chinese goods, which adds another layer. They're hoping to potentially finalize something by late 2025.
Ambitious timeline. Okay, finally, let's touch on what's gone viral. The Pahalgam attack aftermath must be dominating online.
Absolutely. Social media is full of it. Condemnation hashtags, solidarity like hashtag pray for Pahalgam, debates on India's response, videos, images, survivor stories, celebrity tributes. It's reflecting that national grief and anger.
Understandable. And discussions about the impact on Kashmir tourism, the geopolitical side, too.
Exactly. It's a major focus.
And on a completely different note, that KL Rahul Sanjeev Goenka handshake.
Ah, yes. That went viral, too. It was apparently quite a brief, maybe cold handshake after an IPL match.
And people are linking it back to that previous animated discussion they had.
Precisely. Lots of speculation online about their relationship now. Shows how closely everything is watched in the IPL world, doesn't it?
It certainly does. So wrapping up today's deep dive, it's clear we're looking at a really complex mix of events, aren't we?
Definitely interconnected. National security, international relations, the economy, domestic issues.
From the tragedy in Pahalgam and the strong national response, to the courts, the economy, global pressures, state-level challenges, even sports and tech, it all paints a picture.
And behind the headlines, the human element is always there. The grief, the resilience, individual achievements.
It really underscores the need to consider both the immediate actions and the longer-term implications for India, its people, and its place in the world. Lots to keep watching.
Indeed. Many threads unfolding simultaneously. It will be crucial to see how these situations develop.
See you tomorrow. Don't forget to subscribe to SamvaadX News Podcast channel and hit that bell icon.